Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a while since I shot another video. So I figured it's about time, and I was out here doing some maintenance on it anyway. Car's got about 500 miles on it since the swap's been running. And it's actually been running really good. It's left me stranded one time, but that really wasn't its fault. I had the starter solenoid actually fell off the starter. You see, I've got a spare Mirage starter right here, and what happened was the two machine screws that hold the solenoid on had actually backed out, and whether they came loose from vibration or whether they came loose like while it was shipping from Japan, it's hard to say. So it may have been that way, and I might have just missed it. I never actually disassembled the starter. I just figured it's one of those pieces you just kind of throw on there and it should be fine. But yeah, that came apart on me and ended up leaving me stranded. Oddly enough, while I was taking a friend to look at a Mitsubishi, I was like, yeah, that's a great advertisement for the reliability. But that's really, like I said, it's really not the car's fault. So the thing's super dirty. If you were at the DSM shootout, you know that it ended up pouring rain on Saturday, and so we ended up had the car loaded on the trailer right before the rainstorm hit, and we were pulling out right when the rain was really starting to come down hard. I'm sure a lot of people were kind of like, how in the world did they get the car on the trailer so quick? Well, we actually had been loading it and getting ready to leave when the rain hit. So it just kind of worked out that way for us. But yeah, anyway, the car's been doing really good. Runs great, considering that it's really only on a stock tune, and the injectors are scaled 30% for E85, which it is on now. And yeah, everything seems to be good. So I've just been kind of checking out underneath here, making sure everything's tight. I haven't come across anything loose yet. Everything seems to be pretty good. I had been hearing some rattling from back here, so I kind of, well, more like clunking. I really wanted to make sure that I didn't have anything loose. If you see, you might be able to see there's some chewed up marks on that sway bar end link, the white line end link. That's because I lost it at one point on my road, thankfully. When I was doing a test drive, those jam nuts weren't tightened down, and the thing ended up rattling itself off. And I heard it go plinking down the road, and trying to figure out what it was. Thankfully, a buddy of mine spotted that it was missing. He's like, oh yeah, you're missing the sway bar end link. I'm like, oh, junk. But we walked down the road and were able to pinpoint about where it had come off, and I was like, I think it came off right about here, and he's like, oh, it's right there. So thankfully we spotted it and were able to reinstall it. But after that, I've been kind of leery of making sure that everything's tight back here. It's still a fairly new build, so I want to make sure that everything's good, nothing's coming loose. And so far, from what I've been checking out, everything seems to be pretty good. The spiders have made homes in here, but I suppose that's to be expected. Everything looks pretty good. It's still fairly clean underneath here. It looks really nice. It's a real head turner, that's for sure. I've had a lot of people. I just had somebody today on my way home from work. I was grabbing some lunch at Chick-fil-A, and a guy walked up and he's like, is that a Lancer? I'm like, kind of. It used to be a Mirage. There's really not much Mirage left here now. But yeah, so it's been a really fun car. I really enjoyed meeting some of you guys at the DSM shootout and showing the car off a little bit, and I'm really glad that that people are liking it. It actually got over 1,000 likes on All Wheel Drive Army. That was a pretty big deal. Like, I really didn't expect the reaction that this car has gotten. So I'm really glad to see people enjoying it as much as I am, and I hope that I'm able to help some of you guys that have expressed interest in doing the same conversions. I hope I'm able to help you guys with yours as well. So by all means, if you're interested in building something like this, hit me up. If you comment on the videos or something like that, or you can even if you join the forums that this car has got build threads on, you can message me on there, and I'm still pretty active on all the forums. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to help you guys with it. You see carbon fiber drive shaft, shop drive shaft there. The exhaust is coming along. There's still a lot of work left to do to it. You might have noticed the 3-inch turn down tip that's on it. That's not permanent, don't worry. I had gotten the most of the exhaust together and needed a way to hang it temporarily so that I could be driving this thing and it wouldn't just be unbelievably loud like it has been. Don't want to attract the wrong kind of attention with it. So I ended up I put the what I did was I cut the flange off of the downpipe first of all, and we welded on a 3-inch V-band flange, and the cat pipe is in there, also V-band, and then welded a V-band flange onto this section of catback, which this catback was made by OBX. It was supposed to be an Evo 4 catback. I had read some people said that it didn't fit Evo 4s even close, but for 160 bucks I was like, well, even if it doesn't fit, it's worth more than that in materials, so it was cheaper to buy this than to buy a straight section of stainless, so it was worth it to me to go ahead and get it. Ended up, what OBX did was they took a Evo 8 exhaust and they mirrored where they put the hangers, and then they tried to make a muffler that fit, but it really wasn't even close. The muffler was backwards, everything was backwards. So I cut the hangers off, and the pipe still followed the same course, so I just ended up using the straight section. I'll probably use the muffler eventually as well, but it is nice because the bends still fit around the fuel tank just like it would with an Evo 8 exhaust. You might be able to see where it bends down up there. I'm going to end up having to cut that section out because the exhaust hangs too low. I'll have to redo the mount for the downpipe to bring it up into the car more, and then I'll just end up welding a new 3-inch V-band flange onto this stainless section here, and then making a new cat pipe down there so that it'll all be pulled up in where it should be. But I'll do that this winter. I've already destroyed one V-band clamp on here because it drags the ground on uneven surfaces. So I'm just kind of not really worried about it for now. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. The clamp's already destroyed, so I'll put a decent set of clamps on it this winter when I redo all of it, and it'll be good. So what matters is it's not hitting anything and it doesn't contact the drive shaft. So it's coming right along, and it sounds pretty good too, I have to say. It sounds really, really good. So that's plenty, and it's got plenty of horsepower potential. 3-inch is good to, I think, close to 900 horsepower. So everything seems to be pretty good. I've checked my fuel system, no leaks of any kind anywhere. Everything seems to be pretty good. The car is running on E85 now, and it runs really, really well. Considering I'm still on the original tune because the car's still on stock cams and basically a stock turbo. All I did was scale the injectors, and I can't remember I think I added 30% scaling to the injectors, or subtracted it, I can't think that quick, but you edit it by 30% to account for the fact that you need 30% more E85, and that's really all I've done, was just change that in the tune. It's still on the stock fuel and timing maps, and it's with SETI mods. It's got the check engine light on knock, which I rarely ever see, so I only see it if I'm doing something really stupid with it. So right now I'm just kind of taking it easy on the car. I'll hit boost occasionally, but I just roll into it, and I keep an eye on air-fuel ratios, and everything's right where it needs to be. So this winter I will be doing GSC R2 camshafts, since this is a 2.3 stroker motor, as well as AEM cam gears, and I've got ARP cam bolts here already, so I'll do all that. Right now I've got a Walber 255 in the tank. That's not going to be enough for E85, so we'll do a bigger fuel pump. I still haven't decided on how I want to do the fuel system on this car. I've been debating maybe a swirl pot setup, or maybe an A1000 fuel pump into the swirl pot, or Walber 255 into the swirl pot with an A1000 feeding out of that. I don't know yet. I've got a lot of options that I need to kind of consider. It'd be nice if somebody like Busher made a double pumper for this old style Evo 4, 5, and 6 tank, but they don't, and it's a completely different style hanger. It's unique to the Evo 4, 5, and 6. The DSM stuff's different. I was hoping that something would be the same, but there's really nothing out there like that, so it's gonna have to be a custom design setup, which, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it just makes it a little more difficult. So I have to go through some setup options and decide how I'm gonna do it. But yeah, everything's so far good back here. I actually haven't checked underneath up front yet, so we're about to go do that now. But it's just been an absolute joy to drive. I've started kind of tuning the suspension a little bit. It needs to be stiffened up a little bit. It's got too much roll. It's not even high enough for me to get underneath. Well, let's see. Really need to check this. Make sure that these aren't backing out. Nope, nice and tight. Good. Hopefully I won't lose my starter again. But everything seems to be pretty good. Intercooler pipes are nice and tight. The air conditioning hose seems to be holding up, which is good. I actually burned through this one once. This AC line right here. And so what I ended up doing was I had the hose fixed, which cost $150. That was a huge pain in the butt. But I had the hose fixed. It's a brand new hose. And DEI makes heat insulation wrap. So I bought their actual stitched wrap first. Found out that it wouldn't fit around the hose ends. So I went back and I bought their heat tape. And I took apart the heat wrap, the stitched heat wrap, and wrapped it around the hose, and then wrapped that whole thing in heat tape. So hopefully, and that is touching the dump, and it's extremely close to the O2 housing, which is what made it melt the first time. It actually contacted it and melted right through it. So that's why there's really nowhere else to route it. That's where it was routed from the factory for some reason, which just doesn't seem smart to me, but that's what they did. So this was really the only option that I could come up with besides making a new hose and then completely rerouting that. So ended up this was the best short-term option for now, so hopefully that'll hold up. It'll be a real shocker if I'm driving down the road and suddenly Freon starts spewing everywhere. It'll be a huge white cloud going down the road. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I still got to figure out, there's a slight oil leak right there. I'm not sure if it's the power steering pump or if it's the front case. I had a front case leak and I had forgotten to put a bolt in, and so I fixed that, but I've still got a little bit of a leak there. You see it drips out of the timing cover, which is really scary, but the belt doesn't seem to get any oil on it. So I think honestly, I'm pretty sure that it's the power steering pump. And what's happening, if I can barely see where I'm pointing the camera, but if you can see it, there is the power steering pump sits right up there, and it's on an angled bracket, and it leaks. And what happens, I think, is it runs down, and that bracket runs to the inside of the timing cover. So I think it runs in there, and then it drips down the inside of the cover to this bottom, and then it pools here on the bottom of the cover where it drips out. You see that there's no drips on the floor anywhere, just lots of rust flakes because I haven't cleaned this garage floor up from the last job I did in here. But it doesn't drip to the floor, so it's a real slight leak. I think the power steering pump shaft is got too worn. I rebuilt the thing twice with all new seals, and I even went so far as to RTV around the seam where I split the case, which it has a brand new seal, but it was just as a precaution because I couldn't figure out where the thing was leaking at. I've rebuilt it twice, and it still didn't fix it. So my best guess is that it's leaking from the shaft seal, and then dripping all the way down here because the car doesn't use any oil, so I figure that's got to be power steering pump fluid. So I haven't really figured out what I'm going to do about that yet. I've just been keeping an eye on my timing belt to make sure that it's not getting oil on it. But everybody just tells me, it's a Mitsubishi, they leak oil, just leave it alone. That still bothers me though. We'll see. I'm sure I'll find some way to fix it. I'll probably be messing with that more this winter. What else? Now you can see the how low that decat pipe hangs. See if I can scoot over there. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. You can see that the clamp is getting pretty chewed up there from impacting the ground. Thankfully it's just the rear one, the front one doesn't hit at all. But I think the downpipe actually hits here and there as well. So let's see. Yeah, it's getting dented up a little bit there. So I'll have to fix this before this whole thing gets tore up. I've got too much invested in it to let it get destroyed. We'll fix it. But anyway, everything seems to be rock solid. I haven't really had too many issues with it. It was overheating for a while, and I ended up I think there was an air bubble in the coolant system that hadn't gotten out, and I ended up burping that out, and it wasn't overheating too bad. It was hitting around 230 Fahrenheit, which is hot, but it's not like death zone for the engine. So I burped the coolant system again, and after that, now it only gets up to about, I think, 210 on really hot days with the AC running. So that's still a little warm for me. I'm going to try to figure out if there's anything else I can do, but I think it's just the way it is. I think it needs a little bit better shrouding, and it definitely needs a better intercooler. This one's kind of chewed up from rock impacts over time. So we get something that flows air a little better, and I think it'll let more air get to the radiator, and it'll take care of itself as I upgrade parts. But so that's all good. I guess I can give you guys another look at the engine. So that's one of the best parts of this car. Got work stuff in here right now. I drove the car to work this morning. It's just too fun to resist. I'm getting a little bit of cracking in the front edge of this carbon hood. It's starting to bother me. The fourth one formed. There's a small, real fine crack. Maybe I can show you guys. Maybe not. It's right here. I don't know if I can make it focus. I don't think it'll focus. One there. There's one there. There's one here, which you can see. And then there's one right here. And None of them are more than 1/2 inch long. This is the longest one right here. That's all the longer it is. But I don't know why these are forming, if it's just vibrations or if it's air hitting this leading edge. But I've got to be careful because this is like one of, I think, 4 of these that are left that we know of in the US. So pretty sure that these were originally made by Vis Racing, and they don't make this hood anymore. So I have to really be careful to keep this one nice. What I'm probably going to do is put a vinyl strip along here and then try to make it tasteful, like maybe a little bit up here to kind of follow the lines of the hood. Just emulate this shape here on a smaller scale for right here, just to cover this leading edge and keep it from getting damaged any worse. But that's again something I'll work on this winter. Let's see. I've been doing little cleanup jobs here and there in the engine bay as well. You see there's oil on the spark cover. I ended up, the gasket on the oil cap was pretty dry rotted, so I took it off and replaced it with a brand new one, which I ordered online. Thankfully it shares a part number with a Dodge of some sort, so that was easy to get a new one. I think you guys have seen the Tomei exhaust manifold heat shield kit. That's a pretty nice little deal there. Really improved the look of the engine bay. I've done work on my speed density conversion. I've got the IAT sensor plumbed in, and I've got a GM3 bar here. I had 3M taped to the firewall here, but it doesn't stay, so I'll probably end up taking all this covering off again and drilling holes there to hold it in place, and then it's just plumbed in with the blow-off valve. So lots of little things to do, like you guys see. And then I've got the speed density conversion adapter right there, but it's still on MAF at the moment. Just because the Evo 5 ECU, for whatever reason, wasn't picking up the map sensor. So I don't know if it was wired wrong. I changed the wiring. I can't think of what it was off the top of my head that I set it to, but it didn't fix it. So I've just been having a lot of problems with the Evo 5 ECU. It's a pretty old ECU, and there's not a whole lot of support out there for it. So I'm gonna buy an AEM ECU patch harness and rewire that, so I don't have to modify the factory harness. And I'll probably put an Evo 8 ECU in it with Tefra, just to have a little bit more support. It'll be a lot easier to tune with, and I think that the Evo 8 ECU with Tefra should get me to my goals with the car pretty easily. So that's probably the route that I will go. As much as I would love a Holtec Elite, that's really just not in the budget. So I'm trying to get my own place. So that's where all the money's been going recently. But don't worry, guys, this will be done. This car will be finished hopefully this winter. So and then in the spring, when it's all together, I will have it tuned properly, not by myself, and should be good. Now these brake pads, I gotta say, the Carbon Lorraine RC5 Plus pads are really awesome. They are unbelievably dusty, and they're also very noisy, which I expected. So nothing crazy there. You can see it's hot spotting the rotors pretty good trying to run these things. And the biggest problem I'm having is these tires are so old and hard that the brakes just overwhelm them immediately. This car likes to lock them all up. Yeah, that's another thing I'll be doing in the spring, is we'll be replacing these junk things. I don't even know what they are. Admiral somethings. They might not even have a name. They're just that cheap. Oh, there we go. Admiral P712s. The street cred. Yeah, no, not really. We'll probably, I'm kind of debating on tire choice right now. I'm thinking about either going with R888s in a slightly wider size than this. These are 215/40 17s. I think I can get away with running a 230 or sorry, 225/45 17. I'd really like to push it all the way to a 235, but with these stock fenders, it's just not going to happen, and I'm not sure if I want to put flares on it or not. So we'll just see how it goes with the others. So either Michelin Pilot Super Sports, Toyo R888s. What's the other one I was looking at? Star Spec Z2s is another one that's kind of on my considerations list. There's still lots of R&D to do to figure out what the final setup's going to be for this car, but it'll get there. But it's already just unbelievably good compared to what it was with the old engine and front wheel drive. It's just worlds different. The car is so much better, and I have no doubt that it will continue to get better as we keep changing parts. I think it'll be a completely different car again in the spring, just with cams, tuning, fuel system, and tires is just going to make a world of difference. And of course the body work will be done as well. So, but I'll stop rambling for now. Just stay tuned. Hopefully there will be some really exciting stuff in store in the next couple of weeks. We shall see, guys. But again, thanks for following the build. I'm really glad that you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. I really just wanted to build myself something. I always wanted to have a 97 Evo 4 ever since watching the Jackie Chan movie Who Am I when I was a kid, which is the reason a lot of people like the Evo 4s, is because of that movie. And it was just kind of something that I kept going with, and never really forgot about wanting that car, and learned about the Mirage platforms when I was a teenager and decided that it was something I wanted to pursue. And it was just a dream of mine. I always just really liked the Evo 4. Like most people wanted Lamborghinis or Ferraris or whatever. I wanted a R34 Skyline, a Subaru WRX, and an Evo 4. Those have always been my three dream cars, and this one's realized. And some of you guys know I daily drive the WRX, and I already got two of the three cars ticked off. So next I'll have to get my house with build my house is the plan, with my dream garage and shop in the next couple of years, and then I'll look at getting the last one, get that R33 or R34 GTR, one of the two. Don't know which one yet, but yeah, I never really planned on it being something that other people would follow as much as they do, and it was just for me. But I'm really happy that you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. So like I said, I'll stop rambling for now, but thanks a lot, guys. I'm glad you enjoyed the car. So we'll see you next time.